Customs and Border Protection are checking your phone more than ever. Remove these 5 things before flying.
Unlock your phone now.
No! That's private. You can't do this!
At the border, privacy isn't an option.
You.
Come with me.
Don't touch me! This is wrong!
Move it.
I have rights! Let go!
Airports aren't just about luggage checks anymore. They've become traps for the unprepared. Under the Trump administration, Customs and Border Protection has been cracking down harder than ever, and travelers are getting flagged for things they never imagined. One small mistake, the wrong item in your bag, the wrong purchase overseas, even the wrong message on your phone can trigger hours of questioning, fines, or a permanent red flag on your travel record. That's why in this video, I'm breaking down 5 things you need to remove before flying. Each one has caught thousands of travelers off guard, and the final one, your phone, is where the real nightmares begin. Miss any of these, and your next trip could go very wrong. And here's the thing. Each of the 5 traps we're about to cover gets more serious as we go. Let's start with one that seems simple but has ruined trips for thousands. How carrying cash turns into a customs nightmare. Picture this. You've just landed after an international trip. You're exhausted, dragging your carry-on, ready to head home. But before you can leave, a U.S. Customs and Border Protection officer, that's CBP, pulls you aside.
You should know the rules. Over $10,000 must be declared. No excuses.
It's just $14,000! It's my money, I can do whatever I want with it!
They found you're carrying $14,200 in cash. You even filled out the declaration form, admitting to that amount. But here's the catch. In another bag, you had more. That's where things unraveled. CBP flagged it as suspicious, treated it as if you were trying to hide money, and instead of a smooth exit, you were marched into a back room under bright lights. The story was even publicized online, used as an example of what happens when travelers think splitting cash between bags will keep them safe. The result? The money seized on the spot. And once CBP takes it, getting it back is a long, expensive process that many travelers never win. So here's the rule. If you're carrying more than $10,000 in cash, you must declare it. It's not illegal to bring in $20,000, $30,000, or even more. What gets travelers into trouble is failing to report it. And the way you report it is with this, FinCEN Form 105. It looks like a standard customs report. You write down your name, passport info, flight details, and exactly how much money you're carrying. You sign it, hand it in, and that's your legal proof. Without it, you're at the mercy of the system. So why don't travelers just declare the money in the first place? Well, there are a few big reasons. First, a lot of people think it's illegal. They see that $10,000 number and assume it's a hard cap. It's not. You can bring $20,000, $30,000, even more, as long as you declare it. It's the failure to report that gets you into trouble. Second, people worry about looking suspicious. They think if they declare $50,000, officers will immediately assume it's criminal. But here's the irony. Hiding it almost guarantees suspicion. Another reason? Paperwork. Filling out that FinCEN 105 form, explaining where the money came from. It feels intimidating. So some travelers take the gamble and try to fly under the radar. Then there's bad advice. Online forums and even friends sometimes suggest splitting the money between bags or across family members. But CBP calls that structuring, and they treat it like evasion. Some even try the gift excuse, saying, "Oh, this isn't my money. I'm just carrying it for someone else." But to CBP, that's a major red flag. It sounds like courier activity, and it usually makes things worse, not better. And of course, overconfidence plays a role. People think, it won't happen to me. Sure, most flights don't involve a deep inspection, but the ones who do get caught, they can lose everything. Finally, culture matters. In some countries, carrying large sums of cash is normal for weddings, remittances, or business. But the US system sees it very differently. Money issues are bad enough. But the next trap feels even sneakier because it hides in the very things you pack with good intentions. What you see as harmless, customs may see as a serious violation. Gifts and luxury goods. How presents turn into penalties. Picture this. You're coming home from a trip abroad. suitcase stuffed with souvenirs, a designer handbag for your partner, a gold bracelet for your mom, maybe even a few luxury watches because they were too good of a deal to pass up. To you, they're thoughtful presents. But to U.S. Customs and Border Protection, CBP, they're not gifts. They're imports. And that's where the problems start. Here's the rule. Travelers can bring back up to $800 worth of goods duty-free. Anything above that has to be declared. And luxury items? They blow past the limit almost instantly. This is where so many people slip up. They think calling something a gift makes it exempt. It doesn't. CBP doesn't care who it's for, only how much it's worth. Others underestimate the total. One high-end handbag or a single piece of jewelry can push you well over the allowance in seconds. Then there's the hiding game. Some travelers rip off tags, wear new clothes or watches off the plane. Some try to hide purchases in strategic spots, taped inside shoeboxes, wrapped in laundry, or buried under layers of clothes. But CBP officers know those tricks, and it only makes things worse if they think you're lying. And then comes the multiples issue. One watch looks personal. 10 watches? That looks like commercial importing, and officers treat it that way. This isn't rare either. Thousands of people try it every year. One case, widely publicized online, showed a traveler who tried to sneak in several luxury handbags, claiming they were just gifts for family. Customs didn't buy it.
These are gifts for my family. They're not for me. I would look stupid holding a handbag.
Doesn't matter who they're for. You went way past the duty-free limit.
They are not for me!
He was flagged, hit with heavy duties and penalties, and ended up paying more than the bags were worth. And for every story that makes the news, there are thousands more that don't. And here's the part most travelers can relate to. That nerve-wracking walk toward the green lane that says, nothing to declare. You're clutching your bag, trying to look casual, heart pounding, thinking, please don't stop me. Please don't check me. If you've ever felt that, you know exactly why this rule trips up so many people. Bottom line, if you declare luxury goods, the worst outcome is that you pay the duty and walk out with your items. But if you don't, and CBP catches you, you risk fines, confiscation, and extra scrutiny on every trip after that. If that sounds strict, it gets worse. Because if Customs cracks down on real luxury items, just wait until they think yours are fake. And if you're finding this useful, make sure to hit like and subscribe, because these next ones get even more serious. Counterfeit goods, when a bargain becomes a border bust. Picture this. You're strolling through a street market overseas. Rows of designer handbags, flashy sneakers, and luxury watches, all at a fraction of the price back home. You know they're knockoffs, but they look convincing enough. So you grab a few, toss them in your suitcase, and think nothing of it. But here's the problem. U.S. Customs and Border Protection, CBP, takes counterfeit goods very seriously. These aren't just seen as cheap souvenirs. They're treated as a threat to intellectual property, the economy, and even consumer safety. And under the Trump administration, the crackdown got even tougher. Customs officers were directed to step up seizures at ports and airports, which means thousands of travelers, not just big-time smugglers, ended up losing their bargain fines and facing stiff penalties. There was even a case where a traveler tried to bring back a suitcase full of fake designer belts. Not only were the items confiscated, but the traveler was fined heavily and flagged in the system, meaning every future trip through customs came with extra scrutiny. Here's what many travelers don't realize. Even a single counterfeit item can be seized. Large quantities can make officers assume you're importing for resale. Being caught can lead to fines, confiscation, and a permanent red flag on your travel record. Some people also get confused by duty-free rules. For example, the familiar $800 personal exemption in the US can make travelers think anything they buy below that amount is automatically fine. That's not the case for counterfeit goods. Value or duty-free status doesn't protect fake items from seizure or penalties. If your item is authentic, keep your receipts. And, if possible, a quick photo of the storefront or authorized retailer listing. That won't guarantee a pass, but it helps prove it's legit if questions come up.
These watches are mine.
Personal?
Unless you've grown 3 wrists, these are staying here until you pay a fine and the duty.
You have got to be kidding!
Do you see me laughing?
Yeah.
If it's a replica or obviously too good to be true, don't buy it. The bargain often ends up in a CBP bin, not your closet. Bottom line, if you declare genuine luxury goods, you may owe duty, but you keep your items. If CBP decides they're counterfeit, they're gone. And it doesn't always stop there. Travelers can be fined, and in many cases, flagged in the system, meaning every time they leave or re-enter the US, they're far more likely to be pulled aside for inspection. When in doubt, leave the fakes on the shelf and avoid turning your trip home into an interrogation you'll never forget. If fake goods can cost you thousands, vaping kits can cost you even more, especially now that customs has made them a priority. Vaping gear and e-liquids, a border hazard you didn't see coming. Picture this. You're flying home with a sleek new vape kit, a few bottles of flavored e-liquid, and some extra pods tucked neatly in your bag. Seems harmless, right? But at the border, it can flip from harmless to hazardous in seconds. Here's why.
Please, it cost me $200.
Congratulations, it's now worth 0.
You can't do this.
Watch me.
It's just vape juice, harmless.
Not if it's not FDA approved. These bottles don't pass.
What are you gonna do with all my vapes?
We will bin it.
U.S. Customs and Border Protection, CBP, working with the FDA, has made vaping gear one of their biggest targets, especially since the Trump administration pushed for tougher enforcement. What used to slip by with little notice is now a major red flag. The rules sound simple. Only FDA-approved products with proper labeling are allowed. But in reality, almost no flavored e-liquids, off-brand pods, or overseas vape pens make that cut. Customs officers know it, so when they see bottles without clear English labeling or a flashy kit from a foreign brand, they don't treat it like a personal item. They treat it like contraband.
You can't do this. It's not fair.
Sir, I understand you're upset.
Upset? You're about to ruin my whole trip.
It's the procedure.
This is ridiculous.
That's the rules.
And it's not just a slap on the wrist. Travelers have had entire collections confiscated on the spot, sometimes worth hundreds or even thousands of dollars. One case that made the rounds online involved a passenger whose whole vape stash, including a brand new $200 mod and a dozen bottles of e-liquid, was seized at JFK. No refund, no replacement, and a red flag on their record for next time. Even worse, that single seizure means your name is now linked to it, which means next time you fly, you're more likely to be stopped, searched, and questioned, all because of one harmless vape. And if you think all of this sounds tough, wait until you hear about the last one. Because unlike cash or goods you can choose to leave at home, your phone is always with you, and it's become the final trap at the border. Phones and devices, the final trap you can't ignore. Picture this. You've cleared customs with your bags. You're thinking the hard part is over. But then an officer waves you over and says 4 words no traveler wants to hear. Can you unlock this?
Unlock your phone now.
No, that's private. You can't
At the border, privacy isn't an option.
I won't let you.
Sir, come with me.
No, get off me. This is ridiculous.
Let's go.
I have rights. George.
In 2025, U.S. Customs and Border Protection, CBP, has made phones and laptops one of their biggest focus points. And here's the scary part. At the border, they don't need a warrant. They have broad authority to scroll through your photos, check your contacts, read messages, even look at your social media. If they suspect more, they can plug your device into forensic tools that copy and analyze your data. And while CBP says searches only affect a tiny percentage of travelers, the reality is the numbers keep climbing every year. More officers, more tools, more focus. For you, that means the risk is higher than ever. There have been real cases where people thought they could refuse. One U.S. attorney was stopped returning from vacation. Agents told him bluntly, unlock the phone or lose it. He gave in, and they went through his messages, contacts, and even asked about people he knew. His story was publicized to show how quickly a simple return flight can turn into hours under questioning. So what actually happens if they search your phone? A few things. They can keep your device for days, even weeks, under extended review. Data from your phone can be stored in government systems for years. If you refuse, U.S. citizens can still enter. but they might have their devices seized. Non-citizens, on the other hand, risk being turned away completely. And once you're flagged, future trips get harder. Every time you land, you're on edge, waiting to see if they pull you aside again. This is why many call it the final trap at the airport, because unlike cash or goods, which you can choose to leave at home, your phone is always with you, and it holds your entire life. And here's the kicker. Even if you think you have nothing to hide, you're not automatically safe. Most travelers get waved through with no problem, but it's also been publicized that something as harmless as a group chat name, a joke meme, or a random photo has been enough to land people in an interrogation room for hours. One Canadian traveler learned this the hard way.
Why is your group chat called Lost Compass 420?
It's fantasy football, I swear.
Yeah, right. We're detaining you.
He was stopped in Detroit because he belonged to a WhatsApp group called Lost Compass 420. To him, it was just a fantasy football chat, but to CBP, 420 signaled drugs. He was detained for 5 hours under suspicion before they finally let him go. At that point, the burden is on you to prove it was innocent, and that's not a position any traveler wants to be in.